Ladies.
Everything that's happening is on your feed. You see how it's on your feed? It's on your feed. So that's why I need to look at your dimension.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have everyone here in the boardroom of the RMRDC this lovely Thursday morning for yet another edition of the RMRDC lecture series. Thank you for keeping to time. Please give us a few minutes while we straighten out some glitches and then we'll begin. Thank you. I'd like to request everyone to please be seated.
So you need to turn on light and some key things that
Please let's take our seats. We're about to
the
begin.
online platform is free.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I said earlier, this is yet another edition of the RMRDC lecture series. We are here by the gracious approval of none other than the Director General of the Raw Materials Research and Development Council, Professor Nanye Lugo Ikemonso, who is ably represented by As I said, we're here by the kind permission of none other than the Director General of the Raw Materials Research and Development Council, Professor Nanye Lugu Ikemonso, who is ably represented by the Director of Legal and Board Services, Barrister N. Keshi. It's good to have you here with us, ma'am. Other members of the RMRDC senior management team that we have here is the Overseeing Director of the Technology Development Department, Mr. A. Abdulaziz. Thank you for being with us here this morning, sir. We're glad to have you. We also have the Overseeing Director of the Directorate of Corporate Affairs, my director, Mr. M. Umar. It's good to have you here with us this morning, sir. Other members of the senior management team we have here, we have the Deputy Director, PEMD, Engineer Obasi Etu. It's good to have you here with us, sir. We also have the Deputy Director of the Directorate of Corporate Affairs, Dr. G.U. Abidoye. Good to have you here, ma'am. And I recognize all my colleagues from various departments here, from the Directorate of Corporate Affairs, from Finance and Account Department, from TDD, from MDD, from IPCSD. It's good to have you all here this morning. And we are going to be listening to a lecture by none other than Professor Michael U. Adiku. Before we begin, can we please stand up and take the first stanza of the national anthem? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. At this time, we'd like to listen to the welcome remarks by the representative of the DG, Barrister N.N. Keshi. You're welcome, ma'am. A round of applause for the Director, Legal and Board Services.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of Raw Materials Research and Development Council, Professor Nanyelugo Ikemonso, it is my pleasure to welcome us to the third lecture series. Now, you probably may be wondering, what exactly is the essence of these RMRDC lecture series? RMRDC is a research institute, knowledge-based institution. And therefore, it's important that an institution such as we are should be well equipped with information. And therefore, it's expected that these lecture series will broaden our horizon, strengthen our knowledge base. From these lecture series, it's expected that our publications will be tailored, guided by the ventilation of knowledge that we receive from here. It's expected that recommendations from these lectures, would inform proposals, research proposals in areas which will facilitate the implementation of the RMRDC mandate. These lecture series are also supposed to expose us to a kaleidoscope of stakeholders, be they scholars, be they researchers, be they technocrats. I had cause to discuss just a little bit with our lecturer for today, Professor Adiku. I'm sure by the time his CV is read, we'll get more information. He's been in a lot of places. He was once the Vice Chancellor of University of Abuja, Gwagwalada, for 5 solid years. Yes, sir? 5 solid years. Otutojo, I hope I'm not taking your role. Okay, I'm just saying the little bit I know. He also was with the World Bank Assisted Project. As a matter of fact, when he came in, he said to me that he facilitated funding, receipt of funding to the tune of $5,000, sir. $500,000. Begin to make the calculation. Towards fruit juice concentrate projects. Some of us have been here for a while. You know that project that was headed by Haji Atanko. Yeah? Right then. So he was interested to know where are we on that project. That information will be given to him after this lecture series. So he's been in a lot of places. I want us to know that nobody in a research institution is supposed to be a lagger behind. Everybody has a part to play. We're supposed to help the nation by innovating. That's what our role is. So I call on us to pay very close attention and take notes and be sure that you leave this place with something new that you have learned. Again, I want to welcome you, Prof. We're ready to hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The RMRDC is a learning environment for the staff and for the public. And that's the purpose why we have the fortnightly RMRDC lecture series to keep dishing out information that's relevant to raw materials research and raw materials development. At this point in time, we're going to be listening to the profile of our guest speaker. I would like to invite Professor M.U. Adiku to please come up to the front here, sir. Please, can you come here, sir? A round of applause for our guest speaker as he comes to the front. You're welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you here with us. In University of Nigeria, and wrote to become a professor in Nigeria PE. He seemed to studies various aspects of pharmaceutical education, particularly raw materials utilization. Of the sacred farm Milan, Italy, and another training on entrepreneurship at the West of Scotland, United Kingdom. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Science and AS, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, FESN, a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy, a fellow of the Science Association of Nigeria, FSAN, an honorary fellow of the Science Teachers Association of Nigeria, FSTAN, an honorary fellow of the Etymological African Scientific Institute, FASI, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Leadership and Governance, FCILGUM, fellow of the Institute of Oil and Gas Research, MIOGR, fellow international society. And Baker Prize influence in the pharmacy in 2019, he awarded the World Science Prize for Development Material in Uses of Technology. He was the Vice Chancellor of University of Abuja, Nigeria from June 2013 to June 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Professor Michael U. Adiku. We'd like to yield the floor to the professor for his presentation, sir. The presentation is going to take 40 minutes, questions another 20 minutes, before we go for the group photograph and call it a day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. DG, I say in absentia, I think they say it's online. Whatever it is. The director representing the DG, all the directors present here, and all my colleagues here, they are welcome to this lecture. Want to brief us in emerging. Well, I would have defined those things, but I don't want to define them for my personal reasons. When they keep talking about emerging economy, don't know whether we're making it right. So let's go back. Can you go back a little? Okay. Go ahead. Okay. So I think there is a slide that is missing. Okay, let me say that this lecture will deviate a little from availability, because if we are talking about comparative analysis, we should be talking about where we will have raw materials. Is that okay? Kind of mapping of raw materials in Nigeria. In fact, here in Nigeria, there's something they call local content. Hope you've heard about that. So I'm going to talk more about capacity building to be able to tap what we have. In 2011, I was in South Korea for a 2-week training. We visited the Hyundai Steel Complex. And at the gate of that complex was a witty saying, materials may be limited, but human ingenuity is limitless. I told myself that the statement was a masterpiece because here in Nigeria, we have the raw materials, but what is lacking is human ingenuity. We were informed that South Korea imports the ore from outside the country. We were told they were getting their iron ore from France. Yet their steel complex was performing extraordinarily. Go ahead. With the steel complex, South Korea makes Hyundai and Kia Motors, has a shipbuilding company, a Hyundai University, and several other industries that are dependent on the steel complex. In fact, that year I saw 2 gigantic ships being built for Nigeria at their shipping complex. A few years ago, South Korea was among the emerging economies. Today, South Korea belongs to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. These are countries that are qualified to help others. Go ahead. While I was a vice chancellor at the University of Abuja, somebody met me and told me that Nigeria has over 289 solid minerals. Made me think a World Bank assisted project that I had coordinated because we set up a center of excellence on solid minerals research and development. I wrote to the minister, they sent me some people to go and see how the center was doing. While we were on our way, I asked one of the men, is it true that Nigeria has about 289 solid minerals? The man told me it could be more. He added that in their office, they have 71 classes of solid minerals, and that each class contains about 7 different solid minerals, which makes the number to be about 500. I've even heard that Nigerian water contains selenium, which is a rare mineral, and that some people import Nigerian water to be able to extract this mineral from it. This should lead me to talk about other various centers of excellence, as many of them are related to one area of raw material or the other. Go on. The project we did, Science and Technology Education Post-Basic, was popularly known as the P project. As the National Project Coordinator of Nigeria Science and Technology, that project, I was involved in setting up centers of excellence based on various national needs. We based our selection of the centers of excellence on the raw materials needs of the country, with a few other considerations. That project started during the time of President Obasanjo, and as such, we struggled hard to follow his new economic empowerment and development strategy, known as NEEDS. Looking at the critical areas that could accelerate Nigeria's development, we chose 10 popular areas. The 11th one was added based on the advice of some people that Nollywood makes Nigeria very popular outside the country. And as such, we should add it to our centers of excellence. All the centers of excellence have something to do with raw materials in one way or the other. The centers set up under the project were as follows. 1. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education at the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. Infectious and zoonotic diseases at the University of Calabar. Food security studies, Federal University of Technology, Akure. Renewable energy with Madam Fodio University in Sokoto. Environmental protection and preservation, University of Maiduguri. Solid minerals research and development, Kaduna Polytechnic. Advanced materials and manufacturing technology, National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. Software engineering, Obafemi Awolowo University. Chemical technology research and development, that was in Narik, Zaria. Biotechnology and genetic engineering, Federal University of Technology, Mina. The multimedia, the last one, University of Lagos, we combine them with University of Jos and Film Institute in Jos. Most of these areas have something to do with raw materials research and development. And therefore start our conversation from here. During the life of that project, we are told that fruit juice concentrates were not produced in Nigeria, but imported from outside the country. We therefore gave some money to this institute so that they could produce fruit juice for us. I've asked about that earlier. Let's move ahead. The project ended with follow up the results as such. The final aspects of the projects were left at the hands of the Federal Ministry of Education. When I was on that project, I often had development partners complain that the major problem of most developing countries was the lack of demand for resources. They give out money and they do not ask, what did you do with it? Under the project, we funded 195 institutions under 220 sub-projects. We looked at the various raw material sectors and beyond, while setting up these centers of excellence. I hope it will give a good backbone to this topic of comparative analysis of the raw material sectors in Nigeria. Let's move ahead. This was to target the teaching of various, that's the first one, was to target that science, technology, education, and mathematics at the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. This was to target the teaching of various aspects of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It also has its focus on the teaching of vocational and technical education that was meant to produce better and well-trained teachers for the country. If well implemented, different calibers of people who will research and produce better raw materials for the nation will be produced. May be involved in the production of agricultural and industrial raw materials for the nation. We bought 5 mobile classrooms equipped with all the pieces of equipment and materials for vocational and technical education, expecting that this will enable them to reach all parts of Nigeria to teach our tertiary and secondary school students, particularly those in technical schools. Move on. This center targeted various, the next one was infectious and zoonotic diseases. This center targeted various infectious and zoonotic diseases in Nigeria, such as malaria and typhoid. This was to help the institution to focus on the raw materials for these diseases. It should be noted that the primary cure for malaria treatment has been of plant origin. Quinine was first extracted in 1820 from Cinchona calisaya plant and was the mainstay for the treatment of malaria and other parasitic diseases for centuries. Today, another drug for the treatment of malaria is called artemisinin, and this is also from the plant called Artemisia annua. Many of other plants have very potent compounds for the treatment of various diseases, including cancer. These raw materials from the forest are much more compatible with the human body than synthetic products. Thus, this Center of Excellence has much to do with the topic under discussion. Next one. Food security studies, Federal University of Technology, Akure. Food is the mainstay of any nation. That is why most advanced nations have very steady supply of food materials. This center was set up to look at various food raw materials to enhance steady production, as well as study genetically modified food items including fish. As I mentioned earlier, we were rightly informed as at then that fruit juice concentrates were not produced in Nigeria. These were the types of stories we wanted to change when the center was set up. Today, there are peak periods for food maturation, and thus, most of the food items are wasted without preservation. That is why we need serious studies on post-harvest preservation of our food raw materials so that food produced every year can last several months. If not, with that, there will be enough for both local consumption and for exportation to other countries. Renewable energy with Mandafodio University Sokoto. This is another area that might be very relevant in the area of raw materials research and development. Without power, there's no serious research that can be carried out in any serious scientific field. Many costly scientific pieces of equipment are bought and brought here to Nigeria, and they are readily destroyed by the frequent accident or frequent accidental on and offing of electricity. Similarly, there are very expensive biological specimens, such as typed cultures that are brought from overseas. They must be stored in cold incubators or refrigerators. Many of such materials are destroyed in a few days once they are brought in here. Next slide. Usman Danfodio University still continuing. The other aspect we considered while conceiving the Center of Excellence was the use of waste as raw materials. This includes all forms of waste, including cow dung, which is normally called biomass. Biomass is a renewable organic material that comes from plants and animals. Biomass can be burned directly for heat or converted to liquid and gaseous fuels through various processes. That is what the Center of Excellence is doing, apart from using wind and solar systems to generate electricity. Next slide, environmental protection. It should be stated that one cannot have good raw materials if the environment is seriously degraded. I've always told people that the world's richest environments might be the deserts, but no one goes there to search for anything serious since no rain falls there and humans do not reside here. We set up this center at the University of Maiduguri because of its contiguity to the Sahara Desert. The center was set up there to enable them to study hardy plants, hardy trees, through barcoding to enable them to reforest the entire Sahel region where they are located. This is one of the ways to improve on raw materials production. Solid minerals and research and development. At this end of this project, this is the only center of excellence I've visited. The center did so well that they have been recognized by the World Body and given ISO 90002 as a world-class center of excellence on solid minerals research and development. As I'm speaking to you now, I'm not aware of any single pharmaceutical raw material that is produced in Nigeria, including pharmaceutical grade starch. Yet there are huge deposits of kaolin and other minerals that can be tapped for pharmaceutical production. The pharmaceutical industry depends on exportation of raw materials for its industrial needs. This needs to change. This piece of information is necessary so that the Raw Materials Research and Development Council can know those to collaborate with. I've earlier mentioned above the number of solid mineral deposits available in Nigeria. It's now left for this institute to know who to bring in from these universities and polytechnics and research institutes to further discuss and leverage on what they are doing to harness their capacity. Advanced Materials Research and Manufacturing. This was awarded to NASENI to enable them to research further into various materials that can be used in the areas of disruptive technology that is emanating all over the world. These advanced materials can also be in the area of nanomaterials, which can be derived from both natural and synthetic materials. Raw Materials Research and Development Council may want to further interface with them to develop the synergy that can move the two institutes forward. Next slide. Software engineering, this area of disruptive technology and artificial intelligence. No research and development efforts can thrive well without the use of computer algorithms for its research and development. In fact, the development of materials for computer software and other algorithms for disruptive technology and artificial intelligence should be in the front burner when it comes to research at this institute. This is because there is a global transformation that is moving towards the use of these technologies as we gravitate towards the fifth industrial revolution. Chemical Technology and Research, NARIC Zaria. This Center of Excellence was set up to look at the various chemical needs of Nigeria, particularly fertilizer production for the nation. It is expected that they might have some insight into various raw materials if Raw Materials Research and Development Council can work together with them. Next slide. Biotechnology and genetic engineering. This Center of Excellence was set up with the production of with the production of vaccines for various tropical diseases in mind. If this center has been very successful the way we planned it, the coronavirus pandemic would have been easily defeated here in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria would have been the center of attraction, as many countries would have been dependent on Nigeria for its vaccine supply. Today, many vaccine treatable diseases, such as meningitis, Lassa fever, Ebola hemorrhagic virus, and others are still a problem here in Nigeria. This center was set up to combat all this. This center might not have much to do with Raw Materials Research and Development Council, but there are universities that might need to collaborate with this institute. Multimedia technology and cinematography. What was targeted here when this center was set up was the Nollywood film industry. This might not have much to do with Raw Materials Research and Development Council, except for the standardization of the things used of the materials that are used for the music industry. Things like string horns, gods, and allied things. To read about our work in the science and technology post-basic project, you might want to look at various resources published while we're on the project. These centers of excellence that were set up should show a comprehensive analysis of the sectors where raw materials are abundant, ranging from mineral resources to agriculture. These sectors can be further deeply looked at to see that this institute can collaborate with them. I have spoken from the background of knowledge and not yours. The next thing that this institute needs to do is to collaborate with industries and various universities and research institutes. Having looked at our earlier work, our research institutes here in Nigeria must learn to collaborate with industries and universities because it brings in a lot of. It also helps to develop our staff. Some lecturers can be drawn from the universities to come and work here in this institute, while students from the university can have first-hand experience also here in this research institute if they come for industrial training. While I was in Japan in 2002, I noticed that each department had only 3 to 5 staff in the Kyoto Pharmaceutical University where I was doing my research. The other members of staff were from the industry. Their masters and PhD students were also employed as staff. This was to enable anything discovered from the laboratories in the university to be quickly converted to sellable products in the industry and commercialized. My host, who was the head of department, had a registered company. Anything discovered and produced for commercial purposes will have the industry, the university, and the head of department sharing in the gains. Apart from this, the master's degree and PhD students could earn some money to support their studies. It is easier to develop a new invention or discovery from any research institute or university if there are people working there from the industry. This should never be ignored if we want our system to be functional. In Nigeria here, many people prefer people with no ideas to work with them so that the chief executive officer of whoever that is can make all the decisions without being challenged. That is why many of our organizations are not very functional. Next slide. Collaboration, yes. Many of our brothers and sisters in many US universities are not paid as full staff. They are there to enable them to get grants, and as such, they write many proposals. Their salaries are embedded in the proposals because many companies are looking for people to carry out various researches to help them develop new products for the market. A fraction of the grants they get are used to pay their own salaries, hire masters and PhD students, as well as postdoctoral fellows. A portion of the research grant, 52%, belong to the universities where they are hired because they use the facilities of the university during the course of executing their researches. The Max Planck Institute in Germany has many branches all over the country. Many professors from the universities add value to the research at the Max Planck Institute. Thus, it is possible to do a PhD at the Max Planck Institute anywhere in any chosen field. The Raw Materials Research and Development Council, by enabling researchers to work fully in to supervise higher degrees of raw materials research and development. In fact, some professors working on the development of raw materials should be allowed to spend their sabbatical time here. The postdoctoral research. Every year, many overseas universities advertise for masters and PhD and postdoctoral fellows. It is not in any way to help our children. They are looking for new knowledge inflow globally to use including their economy. Raw materials research and development can follow this trend by starting a postdoctoral research system and bring in people from all over the world to come and carry out their research on various raw materials. As an Alexander von Humboldt fellow in Düsseldorf, I met a Nigerian postdoctoral fellow who was at the University of Göttingen. We visited Magdeburg for our own study visit, but they came to our own university in Düsseldorf. We then became acquainted with each other. He later informed me that his post was getting 1,000 research proposals from overseas every quarter. Of course, it might take 1 or 2 persons every 2 to 3 years. But the other proposals from the other people were reviewed and they came for German masters and PhD students. With that, they are able to get knowledge inflow into the country, and the academic staff never lack topics for the PhD students. I was a Royal Society short at the University of Manchester. I was informed that the place, I was taken to the back of Old Trafford. I was informed that the place used to be Manchester Industrial Estate. I was, however, informed that all the industries there have been closed, and the products they were producing have been outsourced to Asian countries because of cheaper labor than in the UK, as well as the desire for clean environment. I was also informed that the cost of labor in UK was very high because most of their children no longer want to read science. They prefer to read social sciences and humanities, where they can graduate and go into fanciful industries in the area of entertainment, where they can become celebrities. This was corroborated by a story which I read recently from a World University News that stated that United Kingdom universities dominated in the humanities. I was, however, informed that their science never diminishes because they massively bring in people from all over the world for higher degrees and postdoctoral fellowships. What are our Nigerian universities doing regarding that? Those who started the universities and research institutes have laid down the correct practice for their governance. You cannot do otherwise. Doing otherwise could mean failure on various fronts. Go ahead. Now, these are the advantages of the postdoctoral system: knowledge inflow. No system can develop when there is no originality of ideas. Having original ideas is always not easy among many academics, even in advanced countries. This has led to academic fraud, whereby people copy PhD theses with generational gaps, or one carried out in a different institution. In many Nigerian institutions, many higher degree students wait for a year or more for their supervisors to assign topics to them. We had one committed suicide somewhere. So become frustrated and abandon their studies, denying the academic system of very brilliant minds. In a system with a postdoctoral structure meant to attract people from all over the world, this is not the case. Most people supervising postdoctoral fellowships in other lands receive thousands of research proposals from all over the world every year and may accept one or none or just maybe 2. Such research proposals become a library of knowledge that are readily assigned to higher degree students from the local environment. People working on various raw materials in various fronts can be attracted to this raw materials research and development council. 2. Solution to national problems. Many postdoctoral fellowships have both junior and senior arms for fresh PhD graduates and experienced researchers, respectively. Senior research fellowships are targeted at solving very difficult national problems, such as the power problem in Nigeria. Such experienced fellows are gotten and given fairly large sums of money, and they in turn can hire junior fellows. They are given some period of 2 to 5 years in the host country, and by the time they leave, the problem is either completely solved or a clear roadmap on how to solve the problem is presented. This institute needs to leverage on this to develop the right kind of raw materials for this nation, or even have the roadmap for the development of future raw materials, such as those for artificial intelligence and other areas of disruptive technology. Building of local capacity. There are lots of pieces of equipment scattered all over the country that no one or just a few people have the capacity to use. In many advanced countries, certain pieces of equipment are only bought on demand by postdoctoral fellows. While they are using them, they simultaneously train local researchers on how to use them. By the time they leave the country, local capacity is already built for how to use this piece of equipment. If there are pieces of equipment here in this institute or affiliate institutes, this can be taken advantage of. Similarly, if there are pieces of equipment needed, the presence of new postdoctoral fellows will enable the institute to demand from government specialized pieces of equipment targeted at various researches. Identification of local problems and roadmap development. Some postdoctoral fellowships at the senior level may be just to identify key national problems and to define roadmaps for them. This can be done in the area of raw materials needed for various development programs. They could also help to make curriculum suitable for addressing such national problems through research. For instance, many nations build their curriculum on what they have comparative advantage in or what is abundant in their environment. A good example is Latin America, where countries in the Amazon forest, such as Brazil, build their curriculum around the Amazonia, that's the Amazon forest, from where they derive their livelihood. If Nigeria has learned to do this around petroleum products, granite, cocoa, palm oil, etc., we should not be where we are today. Internationalization of the research system. As mentioned above, the Nigeria education and research environment is too homogeneous and albeit local. This is a far cry from what happens elsewhere. Postdoctorate bring in highly talented individuals from various parts of the world. Many of them, if given favorable conditions, may continue to stay and be integrated into Nigeria research system. That's a key way to reverse the trend in funding standards in research and education and generating funds for the system. If the Raw Materials Research and Development Council brings people from all over the world here, it will be known globally. A good way to do this is to liaise with foreign embassies who can connect the institute with similar institutes in their countries. Economic gains. Many postdoctoral fellows end up making discoveries and inventions, all of which belong to the host institution and as such to the host country. This brings in many economic gains to the country, which may continue for decades, if not centuries, in terms of finance as well as job creation. As of 1999 to 2000, when I was an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow in Germany, 42 Humboldt Fellows had won the Nobel Prize. That shows the quality of the research they do. And any new material discovered here will lead to further growth and internationalization of the institute. Building a culture of research. There's a common saying that the easiest way to feed to satisfaction when one has lost appetite is to eat with other people. The culture of research that is being gradually lost in Nigerian institutions can be regained through the introduction of the postdoctoral system. Many Nigerians go for study that involve research nowadays because they have no job. Most others do research studies on part-time basis. When they see people from other countries who do nothing else apart from research, they too will be encouraged to take up research. Production of high-level manpower for the system. Most trainings that are geared towards building high-level manpower are usually ad hoc in nature. They are usually for a short period or are done outside the country. What this means is that people are not adequately trained, or when they return home from foreign institutions, they do not meet proper working environment. This does not allow them to grow on the same platform as their counterparts elsewhere. It is often a common phenomenon that an American and a Japanese share a Nobel Prize for work done in different laboratories. This is because they have been to each other's laboratories And when they return, the research environment is not very different. A student of mine went for postdoctoral research where he used skin and ocular construct to test his drugs. When he returned home, these were not available. And he has to return to whole animal studies, which is really expensive but sometimes unethical. I have a few minutes. 10 more minutes, okay. I will soon finish. Scholarly exchange of staff. Most postdoctoral students on completion will normally invite their hosts to their institutions back home, even for a short period of stay. These exchanges can lead to collaborations that can bring further internationalization of the local institutions. Former student of mine who was a vice chancellor brings his host for Zambia, where he was an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow, and United States, where he was a Fulbright Fellow, and they come to teach without any pay. All he does is that his university here in Nigeria arranges accommodation for them. If some people live here to overseas for research fellowship, they will return with very high capacity for research and also attract others from overseas. And how do we do the postdoctoral system? For the postdoctoral system, the area of need must be clearly advertised when the call is made for people to apply. This advertisement can be done in newspapers, online, and the rest of them. The major problem might be the funds. If the research institutes in this country and all the universities can make a demand on the federal government, the money can easily be sought from an organization such as the Tertiary Trust Fund. The money can be fixed in a fixed deposit account in the chosen bank, and the proceeds can be used to fund the postdoctoral program. Conclusion. I've explored various ways of looking at the raw material sector in Nigeria under what was done when I was National Project Coordinator of the state. I've also shown how to strengthen research capacity at this Research and Development Council. Nigeria has variety of raw materials, but the human ingenuity needed must be fully deployed if the benefits of their benefits must be fully tapped. Raw Materials Research and Development Council should learn to bring in new innovations, such as working on generating coherence and harmony of ideas and policies that bring in about change. Very soon, we'll be moving from the fourth to the fifth industrial revolution. The society become more complex and more diverse than we are facing. The raw materials for that era will be more complex too than we are currently using and researching into. That is why I've suggested various ideas to improve on generating new and advanced raw materials. The best way to do this and not to be left behind is through the postdoctoral system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Another round of applause for Professor. Thank you for speaking so eloquently to us on the comparative analysis of raw materials sector in emerging economies. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for us to field some questions, and we'd like our online audience to also send in their questions because Professor is here to respond to them. We're going to take two questions from this side, one, two, and another two from that side. One, two. Can I see your hands up, please, if you have a question? Yes. Please, can we give the microphone to Engineer Basi Etu?
Prof, thank you. Thank you for a very wonderful work on actually. This comparative analysis is beyond what I expected. And you have actually exposed how deep-seated raw material is important to the economy and the things we do. I think the only place you exonerated raw material was possibly in the Hollywood and Nollywood. But they still use a lot of raw materials. They still use in their costumes and things like that, especially when they go on this look. We are still very vital. The problem is that the system itself has not really recognized us properly and given us the pride place we are supposed to occupy for this country. Because with Roma, the Nigerian system, okay, that gives us a very good thinking to start thinking that we don't have to wait. I agree with you, Prof. One is not private to know how you actually shared these centers of excellence in the various places. For one of my thinking, the middle belt is called the food basket of Nigeria. And if I was supposed to give a center of excellence to any place, I would have chosen an institution, maybe within Benue or Niger State, the middle belt that houses both the floodplains and the rivers that can give us a lot of this. But I wouldn't go into that debate, but I just want to ask, did your team actually prepare maybe a sort of monitoring team to actually see the performance of these centers of excellence, maybe after this date is done? Because from what you have told us, you have only been able to visit after that the Kaduna Solid Mineral Center of Excellence, and that they are doing very well. What can we say about the other centers of excellence if we can't track what they are doing? I think your experience in Japan and South Korea is different from what we have here. I'm also thinking, how do we begin to bring those type of experience to bear in our universities when we send people for PTDF scholarship and TED Fund scholarship, possibly outside this country, and nobody gathers them? From there, they take off to other countries to help them after we have used the Nigerian money to educate them. I don't see students in PTDF coming back to this country. They go to work for other countries. Yes, we know they are chasing the money, which is good for their family and this thing, but what of the nation? Thank you very much. These are just my few comments.
Thank you so much, Mr. Professor Adiku. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I remember your days at University of Abuja with the energy you exuded that time, whole lot of innovations there. Having listened keenly to your presentation, for someone that have traveled around the world, especially the Asian tigers, and also the Latin America, where curriculum is being developed around the Amazon forest. Here in this part of the country, our curriculum is what the policy make. We have policy somersault. Today, those in the school offers history. Tomorrow, history is abandoned. Today, they offers French. Tomorrow, it is Chinese language, Mandarin being introduced. Today, they offers Christian religion studies, Islamic religion studies. Tomorrow is being abandoned. So, as someone that is within the academy environment, what effort have you put in place to tell those at the higher authorities there's a need for education to have a policy roadmap? What do we intend to achieve in the next 10 years, 20 years, etc.? You talk about industrial revolution, etc. How can we be industrialized when we don't have the manpower? The technical education is nowhere to be found. And in the agricultural sector, if not now, like my humble self, when I was studying agri-economics and extension, people were laughing at us because they see agriculture as for those that are not doing well. They see agriculture as for those that are living in the remotest areas. That is the perception of the society. It is now that people have begun to see that, yes, the agriculture is a gold mine. So, Prof, in a whole nutshell, please, I want the academy community should come together and tell the policymakers the way the medical communities have come, and tell the higher authorities, if you are bringing anyone to be commissioner or minister of health, he or she has to belong to our profession or field. Other sectors should be given that attention, especially agriculture. It's not all about just fertilizer allocation. It's beyond that. We need professionals in that field. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof, for your very comprehensive presentation. I heard you talk about a situation that you have observed where proposals are sent to foreign countries. Universities outside call for proposals. And I read your presentation where you said they receive these proposals, but they don't accept, they don't admit, probably admit one or two, only for them to avail their own indigence of these proposals, thereby enriching, their portfolio and their economy. I just wanted to mention that, and you said that RMRDC should do something to occupy that space and avoid that kind of trade-off of knowledge. I just wanted to mention that under the administration of the current DG, Professor Nnaya Lugo Ikemonso, there is an initiative right now being implemented whereby the council has collaborated with 1, 2, 3 institutions. One of them, Nasarawa State University of Kefi, the other one, AUST. We spoke about AUST today. Now, what we're doing with them is we have developed RMRDC, Raw Materials Research and Development Council, has developed programs which are relevant to its mandate and presented to these universities so that studies, PhD and the rest programs can be done in these universities. NSUK, for instance, has set up further to that. We have signed agreements and all. NSUK has set up a materials development institute. And that is a first across the country. There is no other university in the country that offers those programs because they were conceived by RMRDC and presented to them. We're also doing something like that with the Africa University of Science and Technology. I just wanted to mention that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. That was quite educative. I just want to add to what you said that we create innovations, we bring in new ideas, and I want to tell you that my DG launched one of recent innovative challenge, and he even tagged some amount of money so that staff can bring out new ideas into innovation. And I don't know, maybe we will touch you too. some of my members, some of our members are here, so that when we want to draw those that won, maybe you'll be part of us. Thank you very much, Prof.
The first one somebody talked about, did we have an M and E unit? And then you also mentioned why we chose our centers of excellence based on regional considerations. When the World Bank wanted us to set up, they only considered, say we should have only 3. We said no. Knowing what Nigeria is, you can move to a place and they won't allow you to do research. So we had to multiply it. And we didn't want any region, or how do you call it, yes, to be top heavy. Are you understanding? So the middle belt had Minaureti. They had Naseni. So we didn't want more there. So we had to shift to other places. And you asked if we had a center of excellence. There are certain things I shouldn't discuss, but let me mention something. Maybe, is it off record or on record? Let me mention a few things. Most of the development partners, you need to read a book by a man called Joseph Stiglitz, Globalization and whatever. When we are doing this, it was just about 2 years to the closure of the entire project when we were able to set up the centers of excellence. We had a whole group manned by 2 people for monitoring and evaluation. And we even got external monitors to help us. But all those people, the World Bank and others, they will be pushing you. We couldn't do any reasonable monitoring. So the project closed. I went to Kaduna Polytechnic when I was already vice chancellor because somebody told me a story. Are you understanding? So I wrote to the minister. I sent 3 people to my office. When the project has closed, I can only ask, what did you people do? Nothing will come out of it because the project had already closed. The person that talks about people going for training overseas and not coming back. Now, there's an adage that says the grass is always greener on the outside until you get there. Here in Nigeria, we are not working. Can I tell you? Yes. We don't do work here in this country. People are just being paid for doing nothing. When they go overseas, they are fully utilized. In an office here where there should be only 1 person, they put 10 people doing nothing. Where overseas, they work from morning till night. And because people are working like that, they are creating new jobs. Yeah, where are the jobs? And you want them to have their PhD come back. The only thing that seems to be thriving a little now is opening up of wayside universities, where you have 1 person, they go and get accreditation. What are they teaching? I'm part of the university system. So let's talk. You see, when they go there, they find something doing. When they work, they do there. Some of them don't sleep. I met a lady who was secretary to one of the vice presidents, and the lady told me, my sister got green card. I went to US, so I decided to go and visit her. For 2 weeks, I saw her only once. And the lady said, she said, if I don't do that, I can't make money and pay her bills. You see, the vehicle we are using here in this country, in Germany, 90% of them will be disbanded. Every year you come, they will rise up to you, bring the vehicle to the office. They want to test the level of carbon monoxide that is. Are you getting it? And they will tell you, lay it off. There's nothing you can do about it. In fact, most of them don't even need it because they have functional. Are you understanding? In this country, do we have that? Even if you have the big men say they cannot enter. Why should I be entering public transport? When I was in Japan, I met somebody from Thailand. As we were discussing, I mentioned one day that I had a Mercedes. The man said in Thailand they use only Okada. That's the highest a professor could buy. Here in Nigeria, if they see you take this, is anything wrong with your car? That's the question they were asking. So we had, you see, when the system is dysfunctional, we should agree it is dysfunctional. The person who was talking about agric is not only a medical doctor, it's just like in the legal profession. You are not a lawyer, you cannot be attorney general, whatever. In education, for instance, they're bringing a lot of professors there. Did they achieve anything? I'm asking you. Many professors, I worked at least with 2 people who were in academics when they were as my minister. What did they do? So even they give you a minister of agriculture, let me tell you, it takes discipline to achieve anything. If you put somebody there who is only interested in himself, he will not do any achievement. That's the truth. So if you put any person, whether he's a primary school certificate or he's interested, you will achieve something. All these policies you are saying, are you people talking to the federal? Nigeria has a lot of policies stocked. We don't nobody using them. That's the truth. So if somebody comes in, like I'm a bit glad to hear that MOUs have been signed with AUST and Nasarawa State University. That's how to do it. Make policies, and somebody talked about innovations and that kind of thing. If you challenge yourself, I must achieve something, you achieve something. If you don't challenge yourself, you won't achieve anything. The only thing you would have achieved, maybe by the time you die, they say he was once minister of so and so. Finished. So somebody talks about the education roadmap. I think a lot of roadmaps are in existence. Are we ready to follow them? That's the truth. When I was writing this paper, somebody was talking about local content. How far are we pursuing it? Are you understanding? There are policies on ground. The problem is the implementation. So that's where I want to stop.
Thank you very much, sir. Another round of applause for Professor. It's been a wonderful time listening to the presentation and, of course, all the questions he has responded to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a lively audience. Thank you for fielding questions that the professor has responded to, and for which I know you have received the very answers that you want. I'd like to invite Professor John Uket for the vote of thanks before we take the national pledge and step outside for a group photograph. A round of applause for Professor Uket.
Uh, the Director General, Professor Nailo Kuikemonso, ably represented by no other person than the articulate and dynamic Director, Director Legal and Board Services, and all directors present, especially the Director of DCA, the Overseeing Director. And I want to thank the guest presenter today. His pin here has just been like tailored, that he just has to be part of this system and also to start it this way, because I can understand his level of commitment over the month. And on reaching out to him, it's like what is my date. Up to yesterday, it's just like I will be right there. It's not just only engage with academics, but as at the count, you will be one of the persons that have raised about very soon you have up to 50 professors that he has been able to raise. So most of his students are vice chancellors, and one of the things is that he gives opportunity to young persons to become better. And there's no how you get closer or connected to him that you will not be inspired for greatness. And some of us have been privileged to drink from him. When he was in charge of Step B project, I walked into his office, and as a young officer then in the ministry, he just saw something about me and just started giving me that opportunity to come closer, even through when he became the vice chancellor of the University of Abuja. So that relationship, his achievement has always inspired me as a person to begin to do those things that even the system won't allow you to think out of the box. And so a whole lot of persons, in fact, when I came in here, Engineer Obasi was also saying so much about him. And I think if we have people like this who once in a while come into a system like this to stir up young blood, that will tend to strengthen the capacity and the knowledge base of this system. And so, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I want us please to give no other person than Professor Emeritus, Distinguished Vice Chancellor Emeritus, Professor Michael Adiku a standing ovation, please. Can we give me a standing ovation for a lecture well delivered? You can do it better, please. Just give me a standing ovation. Well, on behalf of the Director General and everyone, we want to say thank you for coming. Hope to have you more. And just like the Director General has pointed out, we'll be looking forward to more recommendations and more collaboration. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor J.J. Uket. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite us to please stand up as we close with the national pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't go out in a hurry. Let's give permission to our directors, the guest speaker, Professor J.J. Uket, and then every other person in that order. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Everyone, please, just this way. That's where we'll be taking the photograph. Thank you. Thank you, all my colleagues from the DCA, for making this happen. Ladies and gentlemen, please can we proceed outside for the group photograph?